Okay, so Sam, as we did before, then we're going to delve into what's called cognitive restructuring. Okay, um, basically, what cognitive restructuring is it's an aspect of cognitive behavioral therapy where we take some of the negative thoughts that you said previously that you had been experiencing, we note them down, and we sort of break them down using logistical reasoning, and we sort of see uh, is there much evidence for those thoughts? Do they have a logical basis, or uh, are they maybe an over exaggeration of negativity?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep,
does
that sounds good.
that make sense? Okay, sometimes it's just what we do. I mean, we do automatically pivot towards negative thinking, or we do view certain situations as more catastrophic or more negative than they need be.
Yep.
Okay,
That makes sense. Yeah.
so first stage of this really would be to sort of note down the thoughts that you're having. I know you mentioned some of these in the previous session, but just so you go through it again, there's just say if you could think of a recent instance or a recent situation where you had a really negative feeling.
Well, I had recently submitted a work project, really important work project, and I'm nearly certain that there's loads of mistakes in the piece of work that I gave in. And another one I've been having at the minute was that I'm a bad football manager. You know, I coach my kids' soccer club, but I feel like I'm just a poor football manager.
Okay, well, we'll start with the project that you said you were submitting, a work that you said was quite important. Okay, so you said you were feeling very bad about it. How bad do you think that feeling was, or how certain of that feeling do you think you are that it was a bad submission?
But I'd say about 90%.
90%. Okay.
That's quite high.
Yeah, it is quite high. Okay. And what were your thoughts when you submitted that project? I know you said about making mistakes. So was just delve more into your thoughts there.
That I know my work could have been better. That it should have been perfect.
Okay.
But I know that it wasn't.
Okay. So you believe that your work should be perfect.
Yeah.
And that you're just not happy because there's mistakes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much do you believe that thought to be true? What, if you had to put a percentage on it?
Oh, I'd say around 90 again. Quite high still. Yeah. I think
90?
90
Yeah.
80 or so.
Well, just put it exactly in your own terms. 80 or 90?
80 probably.
80?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
80. So.
Okay. Now we'll cover. We'll do the second. We'll cover each thought in turn. Sure. Okay. So with regards to then your work, what we'll do here is we'll drop the sort of evidence for, and then the evidence again. So almost as if we're bringing it into a court of law situation. Okay. So again, this is where the logistical reasoning comes into it. So the evidence for. We'll say your work not being up to standard or not being perfect. Okay. Why? What evidence could you provide to me that would say that you don't think it was good or that you feel bad about it?
Just that I know that I don't know if this is actual evidence, but just I know in myself that the work could have been better. You know, but the deadline was really close, and there wouldn't have been wasn't enough time for me to go through it again. So, but I know myself it could have been better.
Okay, so you're saying that you know your work could have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So even though you know it could have been better, would you have said that to maybe anybody else? I mean, if anybody else submitted that standard of work, would you have said, even though it's not perfect, would it have been satisfactory?
I think if it was somebody else's, I'd say yeah. Yeah.
You would, yes. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, not that it has to be perfect. I mean, to get a perfect score in anything, it's quite difficult. But I mean, just something that's just satisfactory. I mean, did it do? Is it going to do the job that it's meant to be for? Or meant to do?
It'll have the information that the clients need. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just not as polished then as it could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's what I would put as the sort of evidence against that. I mean, okay, yes, it may not be perfect, but again, it is satisfactory, or it would be up to. I mean, if it is satisfactory, that means it is up to standard.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you factor that in against you feeling really bad about submitting that project, do you think is it fair to say that not everyone should feel bad about not having submitted an absolutely perfect piece of work if their work is still satisfactory?
I think that's a fair assumption. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Is there any more evidence for it, do you think? Could you weigh anything more against it, or can you think of anything else? No.
In terms of work, no, I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could work maybe more against it. I mean, what do your family members think about your work ethic? I mean, I know previously that you had said you got promoted in work. I mean, so obviously your work ethic is, your workers are satisfied with your progress.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what do your family think?
my my wife is always really pleased with what I do. She every so often she would ask about it because she's got a bit of interest in the area, but
Mhm.
she thinks that I do well providing and things like that. And
Mhm.
my parents, even though they would have been quite critical of me when I was younger in terms of standards of work, they are actually proud in their own way of what I've achieved, if that makes sense.
So you would be willing to concede that even though your parents were very critical of you in your earlier life, they're praising you now. They're really happy with your work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say that
and
would be
obviously,
fair.
you would acknowledge that as a positive, in spite of the negative feelings associated with work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. So can you just see there, just how this sort of balances out the evidence for and the negative against when you sort of break down the thought?
No, I see.
Yeah. So, considering that you did say beforehand, that you felt very very bad about submitting it, that your feelings were, you said 90%, that you were 90% sure that this was a bad submission, and that you were you even said 80% sure that there were so many mistakes in it and it made you feel that bad. If I were to ask you the same thing again, I mean, if I submitting something that, I mean, you said there is satisfactory, I suppose, would you still feel as bad about submitting that?
No, I think a different way to think about it could be that everybody can make a mistake, and it's not the end of the world, kind of thing.
Yeah, again, as I said, everybody does sort of make these mistakes, and as long as your work is satisfactory to your employers, that should be the main thing that counts. I mean, as I said, it is very, very difficult to be perfect every time, and people can stress themselves out very much doing so.
Yeah.
So, if you were to make another satisfactory submission, much like you just did recently, how would you feel about doing that? Would you still feel as bad?
No, I don't think I would because of that.
Maybe, what about a percentage? Could you put a number onto it?
Well, I think I would feel about 60% better. I feel that I would believe the new idea that everybody can make a mistake every so often would be 60%.
60%.
So that's definitely better than 90%.
Mm-hmm. So if we maybe revise that thought, I mean, I know you did just say there that everybody does make mistakes. So if we revise the thought, instead of saying I make mistakes and I have failed, instead of putting a negative thought, whenever you submit your next project, I don't know when the deadline would be, but if you are submitting something again, maybe try and bring in the positive thought instead by saying everybody does make mistakes and my work does not have to be perfect.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So I mean, how sure would you be in yourself of saying something like that? I mean, how much would you believe that? Say in a percentage term,
I'd say about 60%.
But 60%, you'd be 60% sure of saying
Saying that, yeah.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
So already the positive starting to sort of override the negative there. So if you can maintain that more positive outlook, you're going to feel it's that thought. I mean, as we discussed with the ABCs, with your thoughts and feelings there beforehand, if you think that positive in your cognition, it's going to make you feel so much better. Your autonomic processes are going to, they're going to change.
Yeah, they're going to go. They're relaxed more. Not as negative, yeah.
Yeah. So if we move on to the second thought that you had there, you mentioned about being a per manager in football. Well, I mean, if you just break that thought down, what makes you, again, with the evidence for and against, so what makes you feel that you are a bad manager? What's your evidence for being a bad manager? If you had to tell me.
That I feel that some of the parents of the kids who I coach the soccer for, I'm nearly sure that they slag me off
Right.
for not being a good manager.
Now, have you ever heard them say anything about you, or have you just heard from people?
A bit of both, or rather, I overhear things and I assume that they're slagging me off.
So you assume, well, you think or you assume that people are slagging you off for being like is it a bad manager you think they're saying? Or?
Yeah, that
Okay.
the kids should be doing better than what they do sometimes.
Okay, well, how has the football career been going? I mean, have you lost recently, or what's?
Well, we won last year's soccer tournament, so that was
Right, so you actually won, but then you think people are still saying that you're a bad manager?
yeah. It's kind
But,
I know it's kind
yeah.
of a strange spot.
Yeah, but again, just these negative things can pop up. We are our own biggest critic, you know. So,
Yeah.
okay, so that's you would say your evidence for then is that you think that the parents of your the children you manage then are slagging you off, or you think people are talking about you being a bad manager.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Well, if I try and then weigh in some evidence against there, I mean, you just said there that you won the soccer league, so already you acknowledge the sort of contradiction there, and that's despite the fact that you won the soccer tournament there, that you're being slagged off for being a bad manager. So I mean, there we can see the contradiction there. So obviously the evidence for is you produce the results.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you acknowledge that as a positive then, despite the fact that you feel in yourself that you're not as good as you could be?
Yeah, I think that it's a positive that we won the match, the soccer league, and that would be definitely evidence against the idea that I'm a bad manager.
Okay, so if we look at that from an outsider's perspective then, if you encountered another manager who also won their respective league, would you personally call them a bad manager?
No, I think that they had obviously developed a good strategy.
Yeah.
To work with it.
Yeah, but they're doing a satisfactory job. I mean, obviously there's other things within that could be bad, but they still produce the results. So therefore, to call them a bad manager wouldn't necessarily be true, because they obviously are producing these results.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any other evidence you could think of that would again counteract the sort of negative thought? I mean, how are the players? I mean, are they doing okay? Are they feeling okay? Are they happy?
They seem happy with what we've been practicing, and the fact that we did so well last year, and they're all hyped up for trying to do the same this year. So.
Yeah, so you've generated excitement, and they appear to be happy then.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So I mean, if another manager you encountered had won their respective tournaments and also kept their players happy, is there anything more you can really do as a manager? You know, would you call that person a bad manager?
No, I suppose I'm thinking about it now. Yeah, from seeing it on the page there and talking about it, I'd say no, I wouldn't call them a bad manager. I'd see them as quite a good manager. That they know their job and that they know how to work with everybody enough to make sure everybody's pleased with what's going on.
So if you then weigh in what other people might, or something that you assume that people are saying about you, that you're a bad manager, but then when you know yourself that you produce the results and that you're keeping your players happy, then sure you can see that even if one or two people do say something negative, that still shouldn't really impact on it, because you're still producing the results and you're still doing the work.
Yeah, no, I
Do you see that?
Yeah.
So if we then would try and restructure the thought using that evidence behind it, so instead of saying, I think I'm a bad manager, you say, even if you just try and say, I think I have done a good job as a manager due to producing the results and keeping my players happy.
Yeah.
You know, so so if we take that revised thought then and say that, okay, I think I am a good manager, or I think I am doing a good job as a manager because I produce results, how confident would you be in saying that?
In what? In the revised thought?
Yeah, how good would you be in the revised thought in saying I am a good, decent manager?
Well, at the minute, 55%.
Yeah, so just what, over half? You think you'd be fairly confident, or confident enough to just say it? So you're straddling the line then between thinking you are, thinking you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even so, I mean, your feeling before was quite bad. I mean, you said that you were 80% sure that you felt just like a really poor manager. I mean, even if you're straddling the line now between good and bad, more sort of, because it's 55, you said you're more straddling the line of good. How,
Yeah.
what would your feeling be?
That,
How do you feel in yourself?
I believe it. I believe it about 60%. You know.
Yeah.
Definitely more than the negative thought. Definitely.
Mhm. Well, if we take that into the context of your overall thought, then that you'd mentioned previously that you think you're a failure.
Mhm.
When you see the restructured thoughts there, that you don't have to produce perfect work all the time,
Yeah.
and that everybody does make mistakes. The very fact that everybody does make mistakes, but you're still submitting satisfactory work,
Mhm.
then you can see how that would tie into, well, it doesn't really match up with the thought that you are a failure. In fact, it contradicts the thought that you're a failure.
It doesn't support it.
Mhm. And then with regards to managing football, there you can see that again you've produced the results. You produce very good results, and that you would feel now sort of a bit more confident saying, well, I may be a good manager, or I may am doing a satisfactory job.
Mhm.
And again, even with regard back to your work there, your family and your family and parents, they seem to be quite happy with the results that you're producing in work. They seem to be quite happy, you know, and they're really supportive of you.
Yeah. No, they would be. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So again, that would tying that back into the thoughts of being a failure. You can see how it may just be a thought, but that thought can be changed.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
hadn't seen that initially.
okay, so again, anytime you were to have a sort of like an automatic thought of negativity, of being a failure, if you could just refer back to the back to this here and try and change that thought, restructure it. Okay, and within the context of your ABCs, then that should make quite a difference in terms of how you feel. So instead of saying to yourself all the time, I am a failure as a manager, I am a failure at work, I am blah, blah, if you can change those negative cognitions around to, no, I'm doing a satisfactory job.
Yeah.
I can be a good manager, I produce the results,
Mhm.
I'm not a failure.
Yeah.
Once you've restructured those cognitions, those will lead into better feelings,
Mhm.
physical feelings, physical feelings and emotions, and those can then impact again on the behaviours, just as we discussed. And when all that's when all that's said and done, then those can eventually feed back into your cognitions and produce better thoughts. So you're automatically putting towards more positive thinking.
Yeah.
So does that all make sense to you? Yeah?
No, it does, and as I said there, it's good to see it kind of laid out in a way that's just on paper, so it kind of puts it in more of a context.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
So,
So Sam, what I'm going to do is again, you have your ABC model here that I've been referring to,
yeah.
and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the thought there, which I've just written out for you here.
Mhm.
And just any time you need reassurance or need to revise what we've gone through in the session there, you'll be able to look back through this, okay?
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
But
Thank
have you got any more questions before we end the
you.
session?
No, I think that's all good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.